Welcome back to Grand Prix Legends, here today to look at something that I think really completes Grand Prix Legends as a sim, a mod that's been waited for a long time by many to help round out what the sim is all about. You might be able to see by the BRM leaving the pits to my left, but this is of course the 1968 F1 mod for Grand Prix Legends. The original Grand Prix Legends sim was based in 1967, and I think done so because 67, 68, this was really a turning point for Grand Prix racing. It was a shift from the old way of doing things to much more the way that we are used to today, and more ways than one, really. I'll take a quick look here. I'm in the Cooper T86B, and as you can see from my car, I've got some front wings, I've got an odd looking rear wing mounted, or aerofoil really as they would have called them, mounted over the engine. And this is one of the technological changes that debuted this year, being wings and downforce, using the aero to help the car, and it wasn't just about engines and tires anymore. But also sponsorship. You can see on my Cooper here on the side the Elf logo, the Firestone logos. Sponsorship really became a big thing. Lotus rebranding their entire team from the familiar green and yellow striped cars to the gold leaf Lotus tobacco sponsorship entering the sport. And so in more ways than one, this was a huge turning point, and we finally have this season to simulate in Grand Prix Legends. I'll jump back in the cockpit here, but this was a mod that's been in the making, I think, for over 7 years. The maker was saying. It was released just a few weeks ago, or about a week and a half ago now, by Chris in the SRMZ forums, and it completes really this whole late 60s F1 vibe that Grand Prix Legends has, going from 1965 through 1969. You can race in every Grand Prix, and I believe every non-championship Grand Prix of these years, with accurate starting grids, accurate cars, accurate liveries. It really is amazing, and I'm sure there's definitely some corners cut here and there, and ways, you know, the mod author goes on to explain just things that couldn't be done, but it is an awesome achievement to have all of this complete. I know he wasn't the only one to do it. Richard Cook did the physics, and several others contributed. This was something that was compiled and put together, and I think the dedication and hard work shows. So I want to try it out a little bit. We're here at Oulton Park, which would have been on the non-championship Grand Prix calendar for 68 for the Gold Cup, a race that was run each year. A pretty interesting one, I think, in 68. Late in the season, in August, I think it was run, and so the cars did have some opportunity to develop, although the wings and things are still very, very new. You'll see some of the cars in the grid do not have wings, others do, but unlike a lot of the other non-championship rounds, this one did have good representation from some of the teams. I'm going to go ahead and actually roll out of the pits to get started warming up my tires. But this did have good representation from teams. A lot of times these non-championship races, especially the British ones, which tended to have the most of them, they would just be run by the British teams. You'd have Lotus, you'd have BRM, probably have McLaren, Cooper, of course, as I'm driving for, but you wouldn't have your Ferraris, and Matra, of course, making a debut in 68, but this race did. This race had Brabham, it had Matra, it had Ferrari. Oddly enough, it didn't have McLaren. I think he was busy racing somewhere else for this one, but you do have a pretty good representation of the grid for a non-championship round. I think a sign that a lot of these teams really did need to work on their cars and work on a lot of this new aerodynamic advancement that was coming out. The race itself, I think only 13 or so cars started, and definitely a product of its times. Like 3 cars, it looks like, finished. It says there were 6 finishers actually, but the 4th, 5th, and 6th positions were down like 30 laps, and this was only a 40-lap race, so definitely a huge amount of attrition for a 13-car grid to have 3 real finishers. Jackie Stewart did win it, and I guess was battling early on Graham Hill and Chris Amon later on, who took second in the Grand Prix. So pretty interesting race. I love these little non-championship rounds, just something you do not get today. In Oulton Park, an amazing circuit, one that really is, I think, one of the only tracks that has not changed at all since these days. If you go ride around this track today, check out a video, go to iRacing. It's exactly the same circuit. There are 2 places where chicanes have been put in, but they're optional. You can definitely race without them, and I'm not sure if they do anymore, but the whole layout's there to race without them. So kind of a natural track, pretty narrow, tough to get these cars around, tough to pass for sure because of how narrow it is, but otherwise pretty much exactly like it was back in the mid-60s where we are, 68, late 60s. So right around here getting our tires warmed up. We're in the practice/qualifying session right now. We're just going to be doing a really quick race, 6-lap race. It was a short race in real life, so this will give us a lot of urgency. We want to try to get a good spot on the grid to see what we can do. But one thing I mentioned, Richard Cook did the physics on these cars. These cars do have aerodynamic physics, which is something that debuted, I believe, with the 1969 mod with Grand Prix Legends. Those cars, of course, all had wings. By the end of the season, had very modern-looking wings compared to these. But this mod itself does actually have the same physics, or not the same physics really, the same physics ideas, but has been adapted to the 68 cars. So these cars, you can tell there's downforce there compared to the 67 versions, but it's not quite the same. You get a lot of understeer on some of the cars. You get some odd behavior. I notice mostly that the cars do not like traveling sideways as much as they do in the 67 or 66 cars. They really like to right themselves and go straight. So it's an interesting challenge. It's really fun to try to drive these cars from all the different years. Something I maybe want to do at some point is take one team or one car design and go through all the iterations of it, because you can now. They all exist. And Grand Prix Legends is pretty awesome. So we'll come around here and finish this last practice lap and try to do a real flyer. I got one car behind me, but he's a ways back. Second here for the bend. I think it's known as the Esso bend back in the 60s, but I believe renamed with whatever oil company felt like sponsoring the track. I'll come over this hill here. Up through 5th gear, we reach max speed coming down the hill. Then we'll break down to 3rd, maybe, yeah, 3rd feels about right there. Nick the grass on the inside. We'll head up the hill here towards what I think is the hardest corner on the track, Druids. Down to 3rd, ooh, getting a little loose on the entry, not quite as fast as we maybe can go. Once the tires are up to temperature, we'll power through there, come to Lodge, which is effectively the last corner on the circuit, into 2nd gear. We'll come up the hill here to start our first flying lap, or hopefully the only one we have to do. We'll try it out. The first corner, braking maybe a little early, back in wanting to get away, but back on the gas. That let me turn in really nice. Fly here past all the trees, the decorative trees. Maybe not the best idea for a motor racing circuit. Keeping in 3rd, a little bit of a sluggish exit. The T86B I mentioned, it's the last, I believe the last Cooper car, definitely the last one to officially take part in the Grand Prix for them. I believe this season they got BRM engines, locking up a little bit into the bend here. They did get BRM engines for this season, but they got their sports car engines, I believe, and so really just was not a successful season. And because of the sponsorship woes and the increased competitiveness, they just packed it all up at the end of 68. Really quite sad for a company that was really groundbreaking with bringing the rear engine car. Just did not survive the advertising shift of the late 60s. Getting a decent run out of there onto the grass quite a bit. This lap feels alright as long as I don't bin it up here at Lodge. Dive to the apex. A little late on the throttle there. This lap should be good enough for us to see where we place for the start of our 6-lap race. Just a quick race to get a feel here for the cars. I'll park it here and we'll take a look at the qualifying results. Alright, Alright, so taking a look at the results, Graham Hill gets the pole from Jack Brabham, Jackie Ickx, Chris Amon and Jackie Stewart in the second row, and Richie Axelson there were in 6th position next to Pedro Rodriguez and Jackie Oliver. So right in the middle of the field. Should obviously be a lot of action for this 6-lap race. I'm going to take a quick look at the car setup here. I have pretty much everything on default, but I did want to show that under the drivetrain section you do have wing adjustments, and so it's fully implemented into the sim. You can go dial in your downforce, however little or much that really is, and it really does affect how the car drives. This isn't just a visual mod, this is a real mod, and they do drive different as well to the 69 cars. I've driven those a bunch, and there's notably less downforce. It really feels like a progression. If you take let's say the Ferrari in 67 versus the Ferrari in 69, the 68's right in the middle, and so it's really interesting to drive. I think doing a full season with these and having wings at different points coming for different cars would be really interesting. You know, like the Matra team developed wings first alongside Lotus, really taking that on pretty early, so they would obviously be much quicker for a few rounds, and then other teams would start catching up. Some teams never really getting back to their former glory, right, before aerodynamics, but a really interesting time for Grand Prix racing. So we'll do our quick 6-lap race here, see how much fun these cars are, hopefully have a good little battle with some of the other drivers. We are on the grid for our short race. Sitting behind Eamon on the outside. Flag is up. Down. We're underway. Long wait there on the flag. Getting an okay start. Behind Graham Hill and the Ferraris, having to take it very tentative on the outside. Ferrari cutting through the grass in front of us as we head now down the hill towards what I think is turn 3. Throwing into second, we have the inside advantage. Jackie Stewart in front of us. Trying to get a good run as we now file down towards SO Bend. In the third, we have cold tires. We have to take it pretty easy here. We do have downforce. The Ferrari running out wide. Jackie able to get around. I'm able to barely make it around. Try to keep it on the gas. Our little Cooper here with its Maserati, or BRM, I think, sports car engine is not going to have the same power. And the Ferrari sneaking up the inside through Knickerbock. He backed out of it, luckily. Not a corner I think you can really pass. Up through 4th gear now, working towards Druids. Nice, plenty of grip here for this opening lap. And coming out with Druids, we're in 4th position here, coming to the end of our first lap. We'll just break now for Cottage, or Lodge rather. Getting my British corners mixed up. And then across the line, a complete lap 1, making it through here. 4th position, we're behind Jackie Stewart, I believe. He's dicing it up there with a Lotus, probably Graham Hill, and I think Jack Brabham in the lead. Getting a good run here on Jackie. He got held up there, but the acceleration of the Matra, able to get a pretty good pull here on my lowly Cooper. Throw it into this corner. Love the banked corner there. Many will know my love for oval racing, but I think even on a road course, banked corners add a lot of flair, give a lot of options for overtaking. Keeping my eye on my right mirror there. I'm running wide through Knickerbock. Dipping the tires on the grass, something you would not want to do in a real race. Quickly pick up a puncture. Here in our 6th lap sprint, trying to do whatever I can to keep up front. Breaking down nice and easy to second. And the Lotus pulling off to the inside. Some of that mechanical failure and attrition we had talked about in the real Grand Prix happening here for us. In sim, it's really a sim if they break down like they do in real life, isn't it? Jackie Stewart did not break down in real life. We do have to set our eyes on him. Throw it down into third. This left-hander. The interesting thing about the downforce, it's definitely there. I mean, you can feel it so much compared to the 67 cars, but it makes the car not want to drift quite as much. It really likes running in a straight line, but turning, I mean, I guess you're overcoming that force of the downforce when you turn, but it definitely wants to right itself more. It's almost like the steering centering is much more. Could be the understeer I'm feeling as well in this Cooper. Picking up some nice time here on Jackie Stewart down into third for Druids. Work our way through the turn. Half throttle there. Definitely have to baby the throttle. A lot of horsepower behind us, even if it is a slightly inferior engine. Jackie Stewart has his eyes on Jack Brabham ahead. Probably what is holding him up. Was they almost go too wide into T1. I'm able to get a pretty good line and exit through there. We whiz past the decorative trees on the side of the circuit. Not the best choice. Through fourth gear now. Back down to third. Not quite able to make it stick there. To learn a lot about the limits of the force here. Making our way through the fast, high-speed banked corner. Jackie Stewart looking up the inside of Brabham. Try a move in Knickerbock. It's a pretty daring place, but he does not do it. Just hit the grass there. Oh, and getting a good run on Jackie. He's able to keep it in front of us, playing chicken with that house there on the right. Not something you'd want to hit, obviously. He did get held up there, and I got a much better exit through Knickerbock than he did. Must be running out of laps and trying to check the pit board this time. P3, I can't quite see how many laps left. To adjust that to get it over into view. Not too many laps in this race, though. Only a couple at the most. Oh, Jackie once again running wide. I might be able to get him. I don't think I have him on outright speed, but if he does make another mistake like that or get held up by Jack Brabham, I could potentially get him. Getting a nice run out of this third turn now as we head towards SO Bend once again. Can't outdo myself here. Cooper is showing well today, although it is inferior in some areas. Try to stretch her legs through the gears. Jackie once again looking up the inside. Maybe best to save it. Oh, he thinks the same thing. Nope, he doesn't. Dives down the inside. Trying to stir Brabham up. And we're not able to sneak up his inside. And he runs wide into the grass a little bit. So we're able to get him through Druids. Just waiting for that mistake from old Jackie. Try not to bin it ourselves as we're now in second place with what can't be too much longer to go. We might be coming on to the last lap here. Totally lost count. Blocking Jackie. Seeing the blue fly by my rearview mirrors. Coming down here behind Brabham. Love the look of that Brabham car with the little wing on the back. Looks probably the least outrageous of all of them. Coming now, letting it roll as well as I can. See if we can get a slipstream. He's so much quicker on the gas. A couple corners left to go. Roll through the center there, Knickerbock right on the gearbox of Brabham now. Pressure him into the same mistake Stewart had, but doesn't look likely. Oh, coming towards the final corner, the final real corner. Locking the front tire, doing everything we can not to hit him. Coming to the line to finish second. Saw the checkered flag there right at the end. Oh, and a good race there in the 68. So this sim just does not stop being a ton of fun. 68 mod is absolutely a big one that we were waiting for a long time. Really being able to race this whole era of Grand Prix racing, especially from 66 through 69. A ton of fun. 65, fun too. Feel like with the 1.5 liters is a little bit different. Love the high-powered, minimal downforce. Even when they're starting with the downforce, it's just really interesting. You know, would love to see them continue on, but I do feel to some extent that the sim is complete for F1 now. And some talk of, you know, would they go to 1970? Could you do 64? I think there are a few more mods in the works. You know, 61 I think I saw, or 60, as well as a 1937 pre-war Grand Prix. That would be very different. It would be a ton of fun as well. But you know, something in me wants them to do 1970. But even where it's at now, 65 through 69 is a great time span and very, very interesting in Grand Prix history, and the 68 mod really fills it out. So I can't thank enough the folks that worked on this over the past 7 years to put it all together. As you can see, it's a ton of fun to race, even at these little off races, little side races. You can see my lockup marks there coming into that final turn. I didn't quite think it was the last lap. I was really hoping I'd have one more, but that's sometimes how it goes. So I hope everybody enjoyed this. I'll try to be back with doing some more videos. I'll put some links below in the description for where to get this mod. Pretty easy installation, and you can jump in and have some fun for yourselves. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.